Hi, everybody. Welcome to an amazing conversation we have created for you with Restart India Live. This is a place we want to talk about the real challenges and the real conversations, and especially focused on small businesses. I'm Lakshmi Pratury, and on behalf of everyone at Restart India, I thank you for joining us. This is our way, this conversation and the entire initiative of Restart India is our way of connecting with you as part of the movement where we can hear voices about what's happening in the lives of small businesses and what are some of the solutions, what are some of the ways in which we can deal with this unreal and unimaginable and yet very, very real circumstance we are all in right now. If we look all around us over the last few months, we have gone down and up and down and up, and finally things are improving, not necessarily because they're really improving, but because we are getting used to the new normal. Uh, but the somber spirit, the shock and that we had is slowly being replaced by a little bit of festive cheer. And even though we are not as loud and festive as we used to be, we are coming back to normal. And in India, all the way from a small street vendor to the largest company, they have realized that the pandemic is here to stay. This is not a temporary situation, it's here to stay, be it working from home or delivering food at home. We are adapting and embracing the changes. So, our goal is to use this platform to get valuable insights that are very useful, very practical for small businesses. And we have a great mentor panel. And today, and I'll tell you in a little while who we have today, we have mentors who come on a regular basis and address all of us to give us specific insights into their expertise. I really am pleased to introduce my co host and our partner in this, my friend Thomas John Muthoot. Johnny is a chairman for Muthoot Pappachan Group and also the managing director of Muthoot FinCorp Limited. They are one of the largest NBFCs in India. They have over 3,600 branches across India. It's really wonderful to partner with someone who takes something like this as a mission and not just as a project and a conversation. So, and with that, I'd like to introduce you to Thomas John Muthoot. Welcome,
Thank you.
Johnny.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for the introduction. Uh, I just want to briefly touch upon how we started this restart initiative that was during the lockdown. When we reached out to many of our customers, we have today around 5 million live customers across India, mostly in the rural and semi-urban locations. And when we reached out to many of these customers during the lockdown, we found that uh, some of them who are into essentials were functioning. Some of them could not function because they are dealing with non-essentials. But most of them wanted to come back to normalcy. And more than we being into the financial services and as a lending partner for all these customers, more than a loan, what they was asking during this lockdown was on advices, uh, good advices on how to revive, restart business, because these were small businesses and they had very little information. And this was the first time they were going through such a difficult uh, scene. So we thought of starting something like this, bringing a panel of mentors and ideating, discussing, and going back to these through our branches, going back to these customers through our branches to give them disseminate information for uh, what they require. So this is the how we got into the Restart initiative. Now, if you look at the small business, when I say small business, I'm even referring to the nano, micro, small businesses across India. They were the lifeline during this lockdown, and most of us know that the essentials were delivered. We were depending on these nano neighborhood shops for our essentials and the some of the other supplies also. So this has become a very important part of our life now, the nano small businesses, and they are here to stay, and they are going to really adopt and adapt some of these things which they have seen during this lockdown or during this pandemic, particularly the digital way of doing business. Now, even this smallest kirana shop has got many of the digital initiatives which they were not used to. They have adapted and adopted these very fast, and I think they would now continue to use this. We have seen this sometime before also, a transition to some digital activities of these small customers during the demonetization. But again, soon after the pains of the demonetization, they are shifted out of the digital way of doing uh, things. But now I think it's here to stay. So small businesses with technology, I think, is going to be the way of life for the nano small businesses. So over to you, Lakshmi. This is
Thanks. Thanks, Johnny. As Johnny was saying, while in the initial phases of lockdown, small businesses owners were hit and, it was really, really painful. There's been a lot of work done by people like Muthoot Group and others to introduce digital technologies to small businesses so that they've really, a lot of them have found ways in which, in fact, that they grew businesses since they started, and we are continuously helping all of them. For example, we've had somebody who had a little cake business and now using WhatsApp to market their stuff and actually delivering a lot more cakes than they ever did before. So all that learning is happening. So one of the aspects we want to focus on today in this new normal is how you market your business, how you talk about who you are is extremely important. It's not just a hit and miss kind of thing. It's actually art and a science. And so we really want to talk about branding and marketing for small businesses. And to do that, I have a dear friend, Vivek Bhargava. He's our mentor, and Vivek is somebody who has been doing digital marketing before it was popular to do digital marketing. When people said, "What are you doing?" That's the time he started it. He founded Communicate too, and then he made it part of Dentsu. He ran that, and recently he formed Profit Wheel, which is a with connections to both Dentsu and Netcore. I mean, this is his specialty. Is he puts the unusual people together to create solutions that are very futuristic, etc. So he has done this over and over again. He's also been an investor in the reality show The Vault. He's multifaceted. He's an amazing table tennis player. He's a champion, and he's also owns the Empower G Challengers in the Ultimate Table Tennis League, the country's first ever professional table tennis league that's been there. So, as you can see, he is one of the most versatile men I know. The only thing that trumps over him is his daughter, who's become an entrepreneur way earlier than he did in her teenage. So if there's anybody who can beat Vivek at his own game, probably it's his daughter. So and so anyway, Vivek, welcome to our show, and thank you for being here.
Thanks,
Um,
Lakshmi, and for this generous introduction. Our team is now called Goa Challengers. Mr. Srinivas
Ah,
Kampo joined us last year. So now it's
okay.
Goa Challengers, and we've had a fantastic season last year.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, Vivek, during one of our conferences, he brought a table tennis player and we had a live table tennis on stage. It's quite amazing to watch. So thank you for that. And so, Vivek, I just wanted to uh, have a very casual conversation with you and jump in and give your insights as you want. It's a very casual conversation, and as people start asking questions, I'll insert them as well. So I thought that we'll just start with the basics and say how important in branding and marketing to small businesses, because we usually see the large businesses, consumer marketing use that, but how important is it for small businesses, and do they need to create a brand identity for themselves, or is just smart marketing enough? Give us some examples, give us some insights.
Sure. So I think, see, the easy answer would be yeah, it's very important. But let me go back a little bit and tell you what my thoughts are.
Yeah.
What exactly is branding, right? So now you say, okay, this is a brand, this is not a brand. What's
Hmm.
the difference between the two? Uh,
Right.
First thing is that when you have a brand, then just 1 second. Lakshmi, I'm sorry, but I think there's somebody making the noise. 1 second.
Okay.
Kapil.
The beauty, see, now you all know it's a live show, it's not pre-recorded, because as there are disturbances, you have to get up and take care of them.
Okay.
And
I thought
okay.
like before he goes about using the mixer for half an hour, 1 hour more, I better quieten it before we start off the conversation. Because,
Yeah.
okay. Uh, so as I was saying, right, I think the way to look at brands is that does it help you sell more? So,
Hmm.
right, that you have a brand and somebody else who's competition because you are selling more, whether it's because people recognize it, because they think your quality is better, because of whatever reasons, are you selling more or not? Secondly, are you able to charge more? If
Hmm.
both of you have the same product, are you able to charge a higher price for it?
Hmm.
So this is a two very critical ways in which you should look at branding. So once
Hmm.
you look at it, if you are able to sell more or charge more, is obviously going to help your business. So
Right.
any small business or any large business, if they have
Hmm.
a brand, it can be
Yeah.
useful only if it helps you sell more or charge more. So the way you measure branding also, right? So obviously the larger brands have these brand track scores and sophisticated panels, etc., of measuring this. But I would ask every single person who's listening to this conversation is, if you have a similar product like your competition, and are you able to charge a premium for that product? If you're able to charge a premium for that product, then you have a brand. And
Hmm.
anything that allows you to charge that premium will be the right step in the right direction. So that's the
Hmm.
way I would define it, right? And second thing is, the way I look at it is that earlier digital used to be limited to communication, branding, advertising. Digital today has become almost the age we're living in. So it
Hmm.
helps every business acquire customers, cross sell and upsell to the existing customers, understand consumer trends, educate their customers. So it's become a multifaceted sort of a medium that allows a lot of businesses achieve all their business goals that they have. So the way I look at digital today, uh, it's much more than branding. It's much
Yeah.
more than communication and marketing and advertising. It
Hmm.
almost helps us solve our customers' problems. So if we are solving a customer's problem, then we have a brand. Uh,
Yeah.
no amount of communication or advertising can help us brand if you're not solving a customer's problem. So my advice is, you solve your customer's problem, you will build a brand. Uh, Hiring agency or doing a lot of advertising or marketing is not the best way to build a brand.
And also, it's interesting the way you're saying it. It's not just a logo is the brand, but sometimes a person could be a brand. Like, my cousin always goes to this one person who makes idlis on the side of the road, only to that person. So it's sort of, maybe it's could be a persona, it could be the name, it could be lots of different things, right? I mean, I love what you're saying in terms of, can you sell more? and can you charge more? I mean, kind of a rule of thumb. And just to continue on the digital thing you were talking about, is that can you give some examples or insights into what are some of the digital tools that small businesses can use uh, to sell more or to create a brand for themselves?
Sure. So I think one of the first advice I'll give every business is that a lot of people think of digital and
Hmm.
they look at digital goals to have. So I've talked
Yeah.
to businesses who want to get millions of views on YouTube, or they want to get so many likes on Instagram, or they want to get, this from a digital perspective. But actually it doesn't lead to any economic benefit to the company, right? So let's say you have a brand, you get a billion views on YouTube, but if it doesn't impact your customers whom you can supply your products and services, and their business does not increase, that billion views are wasted. So the way I look at it is that you should start off with what are the business goals you have. If is your business goal to sell more? Is your business goal is to reach out to your existing customers and get more references for them? Is your business goal to understand what the consumer trends are, and then how can you use digital tools to understand those trends? Once you have a business goal sort of written down, this is the outcome you desire, then you can align the right tool to the right medium. So if you take customer acquisition, like advertising on Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, Google is very useful. If you want information dissemination, you want more people to know about a certain product or a service you have, or share a video, then Twitter can come in handy. If you want to understand consumer trends, what your customers are going to buy today, what they're going to buy tomorrow, then tools like Google Trends gives you some insights of how people are thinking and what they're searching for. And then, of course, there are lots of tools for different aspects of digital. You want to build a website, there are multiple tools to build a website. And today they start with as low as 200 rupees a month. You have a tool that allows you to build a fully functional website paying only 200 rupees a month, right?
Yeah.
Same way, you want to develop a logo, there is a website called tailorbrands.com that allows you to build a logo for your company very, very inexpensively. Again, same way, you want to do video editing, there are tools like Prequel, there is a tool called PicMonkey. These are all video editing softwares that allows you to make a small video for your brand. So I think it's very important that if your objective is to build a small e-commerce website, you could use a Shopify, or you could use something like a WordPress and build it for same range of 200 rupees a month up to 2000 rupees a month. You can get reasonably sophisticated tools to manage the experience. So the way I would recommend everybody to think that this is my goal. I want to build an e-commerce website and I want to supply within my locality. I need a payment gateway integration so that people can pay me, I can receive payment from them. Once you have that objective clearly written down, then you, even if you go to Google and search for, you know, e-commerce website maker, you'll get 5, 6 different companies showing up there. And you could choose one of them, fix a demo with them, and you sign up with, they have videos of how the website is to be made. And now everything has become very simple. When I started my career 20, 25 years ago, just making a website was a Herculean task.
Yes.
Today, there are
Yeah.
tools by which even a person who is completely technology illiterate can make a website for themselves, clicking a few buttons. But I think that fear still carries on. They think it's complex. A lot of us don't try these things because we think it's difficult to do. But today it's become extremely easy. It's like if you can use WhatsApp, then you can build a website. It's as easy as that.
Vivek, I just want to ask you in continuation to what you were saying. Assume a small business has built a brand, and as a small business owner, what does it have to do to ensure that there is a consistency in the branding exercises, and also to sustain that? What should he do?
So, Johnny, I have a slightly different view. As a small business, right? Uh, if you are to worry about consistencies, I would put all my worries towards the product consistency. Are you creating a consistent product? Are you able to ship it and get that to the customer in time? Are you able to make sure the packaging is such that the product does not get damaged? Are you able to show that receive the payments from them and you have ways in which you can receive payments from them? A lot of times we put in a lot of effort into consistency of the logo, the color combination, the palettes, the logo design, etc. But if you honestly ask me, right, uh, let's take 80 years ago when you guys started off. That time, the amount of effort that went in designing the Muthoot logo or the baseline or how it was used. So if you took 100 shops in those days, I'm sure the blue color on all the 100 shops were different, right? Because there was no easy way to get the same blue on all the shops, right? But what made you a large financial group was because you built credibility, that you kept your commitments. So it's slightly contrary to what my expertise is, but my belief is at this point in time, make sure that the tech works. Make sure that your product is what you're focusing on. Then there are easy ways to, let's say, build a logo, right? So you build a logo, you get the CMYK, whatever combinations you RGB things, and then you give it to the printer. He will give you consistency. But if you're not able to get the same color, it's okay. That's not end of the world. But as a small business, my focus would be to make sure all the digital tools that are mentioned, use them to create a sort of a consistent experience. If you find a digital process by which you can deliver that goods within 2 hours using a VFast or a Dunzo or any of these services, or you have a payment mechanism where you can receive payments from them on Google Pay quickly and send them the good as quickly as possible, all those things would be a bigger priority for me in the early phases of the business rather than worrying too much. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, if you
It's
kept
also rapid prototyping, right? Just keep trying.
exactly. Like, now 3D printing is there. You can have packaging. I know somebody who's supplying a tiffin service to one of my friends. And what she's done is she's just printed her name, her baseline, and she's got these stickers. So she uses, glass utensils, pickle kind of utensils, and she puts new pickle in it. And then she just pastes this sticker on top of it. And it looks almost like a professionally thing that you would buy in a shop, but it's homemade pickle. So
So what is inside the bottle is more important.
absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
how the bottle is delivered and all that kind of stuff. No, we have an audience question, Vivek, from Rachel David in Chennai, asking, "What's a simple branding exercise for small businesses? What are some basic steps?"
Okay. So the way I look at it, right, that having a good name, I think is useful because what happens is when you're a small business, you don't have too much money available to communicate what your company does. So let me give you an example of Profit Wheel. My name of the company is Profit Wheel, and it says profit as a service. So now what happens is anybody who sees that logo and it says this baseline called profit as a service, uh, would that person want to reach out to me? So what we thought to ourselves was that, okay, everybody wants to increase their profits. And if they feel that I have a service that will help them increase their profits, hopefully they'll get in touch with me, right? So now the fact of the matter is, if you have that opportunity of creating a baseline that communicates the core service that you want to provide to your customers, it is a very good step in branding. Like a lot of times we think like, a Nike logo and just do it or things like that, but it's taken them decades to create what it means, right? But let's put it this way, I have a new company. I don't want any ambiguity. I want to communicate what my company does for people. Then I found a baseline that does that. Now, is it very cliche? Is it very direct? Is it something which a lot of people say that, how can you be so direct? So be it, yeah. Means I want people to contact me and know exactly what my company does within 10 seconds of reading my baseline, right? So I have no shame. I'm a small business at this point in time. I'm starting off. So I need to be extremely direct. And that's the same recommendation I would give to all the persons who are listening to this, that if they can create a logo, create a baseline that directly communicates as effectively as possible what their company does and what their product does for companies is useful. Uh,
Yeah.
Secondly, I think it's very important that, see, so let me tell you what, according to me, brand is, right? a lot of times people think that this logo, the visual identity, the font, the color palette, all those things are brand. If you ask me, right, what is a brand? The way I define a brand is, a brand is the sum of my experiences with that product or service. So all the experiences that I've had with that product or service is that brand in my mind. Now today, because of internet, it is not only my experiences, it is also could be experiences of my friends. But because of social media and sites like TripAdvisors, it could also be experiences of strangers. But it's a sum of all our experiences. So in that experience comes everything that goes with it. It is the packaging, it is the logo, it is the quality of the product, it is the way it was given to me and served to me, the experience of a service that came along with it, and how they responded to my queries, how they solved the problem that I had. All those things is a brand. So a lot of people think a brand is a logo and color palette and the name, etc. No, branding is a sum of all experiences. So you have to work, if you want to build a brand, then you need to work on the sum of experiences your customers are going to get from you as a product or a service. So that's the way I define a brand. So then what happens when you talk about branding, now you have to look at improving that experience at every single level when you interact with the brand or a product or a service. So
It's a,
this is the way I would define brand.
it's a journey. It's a full journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So one question. See, most of these small businesses have the customers within the proximity of the entity. So what is it one can do to improve the business? What one can do differently to improve the business in that proximity, because the customers are geofenced. The customers are maybe within a 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer radius. So what is it they can do differently to attract and improve their business,
Yeah.
attract customers and improve business?
Yeah. So Johnny, one of the things that I've seen with a lot of small businesses, whenever I speak to them, they are very hesitant about spending monies on advertising because they feel that, we are too small right now. We should not spend monies on advertising. But I have a slightly contrary view to that sort of belief. So I have this thing that I learned about beliefs, right? That when you hear a new belief, if it empowers your business, then you should accept it and adopt it. If it limits your business, then you should reject it. It doesn't matter whether the belief is rational or based on certain conditioning you have, etc. So my belief is that, imagine you are a large company. Now you're competing with a person who's in a small locality of 1 kilometers. Now the thing is, you're a large company, your advertising budget is spread across, tens of thousands of kilometers all over India. So in that 1 kilometer radius, if you have the ability to advertise to that person who's searching for that product with your locality name or that pin code, you can actually defeat a Unilever or any large brand for that 1 kilometer radius. Because first of all, you can promise a faster delivery. You can have some more credibility and brand recognition in that area of that 1 kilometer. That restaurant, that tailor, that shop is more well known than what a global brand would be or a national brand would be, right?
Yeah.
Because you've been there for many years. So then what happens is that if you advertise, a lot of people will take an action. And as long as you can, so a lot of people, the way I look at advertising, right? A small business should look at advertising as a cost of sale. So instead of looking at it as an expense in the profit and loss account, what if you were able to shift it to the balance sheet and look at it as a cost of sale? So now you're selling a 100 rupee product. You have a margin of 30 rupees. You try that. How do you advertise less than 30 rupees? So when you sell a product, you make some money. Now, I'm not even talking about customer lifetime value, because the same customer may buy from you more often, 3 to 5 times in a year, and that person may give you 150 rupees of profit. But even if you ignore that customer lifetime value, at least up to 30 rupees, you should be willing to advertise, because without the advertising, you would have lost that sale. So what are the kind of things you can advertise? First thing is, Google search is very effective. So if you put the locality or the name of the area in your Google search, so let's suppose you are selling garments and somebody looking for saris, you know, let's say Prabha Devi, or saris, some locality in Kerala, then at least that person is looking for a sari in that location, right? Now, in that location, can you beat a Nalli saris or some of the famous national brands? Of course you can, right? Because that 1 kilometer, that person is looking for a sari in that 1 kilometer radius. You are the perfect person to get that person as a customer, right? Then what you can do is Instagram is there. In fact, in the COVID-19, in the last 7 months, a lot of weavers have actually come online on Instagram. And my wife has bought multiple saris at much better prices than what she could buy from national brands. And the weavers directly are selling now on Instagram. So Instagram also allows you to target certain pin codes. So any local, hyper local marketing is very useful. Secondly,
Yeah.
any person who comes to your shop, right? Can you figure out some ways of getting their contact details? Can you have a WhatsApp group? Can you create some kind of content once in a week that you could be sending on that WhatsApp group? Don't abuse that content, but can you really produce some content once in a while which will be useful to them, right? Over a period of time, this group can become larger and larger and larger. So when something like COVID-19 happens, suddenly you still have this people who are buying from you. They say generally 20% of the customers every brand and every company has gives them 200% of their profits. So those customers, can you build that one-to-one conduit with them? Now, earlier you had to send physical letters and things which are expensive. Now WhatsApp is almost free, right? So if you have 500 customers who buy from you regularly, and if you have them on WhatsApp, imagine the value of that and the customer lifetime value you can create with them. I know so many people who are supplying food, cakes, and other things from home, and they're part of the WhatsApp group. So she produces some quantity, and then people just say that, okay, this is what I want. And the quantity is very small, so it gets over pretty quickly. So it's almost like competition. When it gets posted, people want to buy it as quickly as possible because it's like, food stuff. A lot of people from good old days, the Pani Puri wala, the Kayani bakery, everybody, right? They have been, their food has been getting exhausted for decades. So if you don't go in time, you're going to lose that stuff. Now they're using the same thing on WhatsApp. So when it gets posted, within 5 minutes, it gets sold out. So then next time you're waiting for that post to come. So I think the best thing in digital is, right, that a lot of, so Jim Collins has this very interesting book called Good to Great, when he talks about that a flywheel where, one improves the other, right? So, and you fire bullets, and then when the bullets hit the target, then you throw the cannonball. Same way applies in digital, right? You try a pilot out, you try an idea out. It costs hardly anything to fire that bullet. If it works, then you allocate more resources towards it, and then you throw the cannonball. But you can
Yeah.
keep on trying these ideas out, whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's SMS, whether it's email, whether it's Google AdWords, whether it's Instagram. You can do Google AdWords for as low as 1,000 rupees a month. Start with just bidding for your brand. That you should have a Google AdWords account, and anybody searching for your brand, not even your product, but somebody who's searching for your brand, your link and your ad should show up for that person, because your competition could be bidding for your brand name. So then somebody will be searching for your brand, your competition will give a bid for it, and you will send your own customer to competition because you didn't bid for your own brand. So some of these things are very, very simple to start off. Uh,
Mhm.
you just go to Google and search for how do I do AdWords, and it'll give you exact instructions how you can put in 1,000 rupees and start off Google AdWords just bidding for your own brand. You can't go wrong with that, right? Because a person
Right.
searching for you must find you. Because if he
Yeah.
doesn't find you, he's going to find competition.
Yeah.
And also, you need to do a few trials to know which are the right words to use, right things to use, etc. So, absolutely right. We have another audience question, Vivek. It's from Bharat Mishra in Mumbai, saying, What are some of the things I definitely should not do when creating a brand?"
Yeah. I think one of the things that I would recommend is that don't hire, if you're not a large company, don't hire agencies and work with large agencies to do your digital. So although it's contrary to what I do for a living, but my recommendation is in the early phases of the business, I think learning how to do digital is going to be your core competency. And you learn digital through experimentation. So I would recommend that if you set up your Google AdWords account and you're spending only a few thousand rupees a month, you should be setting it up yourself and running it yourself. Because then what happens is when you grow in the future and you want to hire somebody, you'll actually know that the person has to improve that performance and you'll have a benchmark. Then automatically that person will be, I would say that they'll end up spending more time on your account because they know that they're dealing with somebody who's more knowledgeable or is knowledgeable as much as them. Second thing is, I think there are a lot of tools available, um, but I think getting that perfection, a lot of people strive for. Like I actually, when I go and talk in a lot of conferences, I say, how many of you are really, really happy with your website? And hardly 5% of the hands go up because everybody hates their own website. But the funny part is, in the last 15, 20 years, only 10% of users' time is spent on websites. 95% of the users' time is now spent on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, and so many other digital platforms. But here is this 90% of the audience who's still trying to work on their website. So don't worry, whatever website you have, if you have a website, is good enough. Please spend time on where your audience is. Your audience is on Instagram, they are on YouTube, they are on Twitter, they are on so many other platforms. You can use WhatsApp very effectively. Well, most people sometimes see the website, and if you don't have an e-commerce website, then just getting your shop address from the website. So getting a beautiful, beautiful website and spending too much money on it, I would not say is the best idea. Make sure that you're spending time on all the places where your platform and the users are. So that's the other advice that I would give you. Third, I think don't try to build a blueprint of what you want to do. Uh, Digital is about taking a compass in your hand and you start walking in the right direction. A lot of times what happens is we spend a lot of time in planning what our digital footprint should be and spend a lot of effort and money in having this 3-year, 5-year plans of what we should do on digital. But by the time 1 year passes, everything changes and you're back to the drawing board. So digital is about taking a small baby step. You're starting tomorrow. So if you can take one single step tomorrow, I would recommend everybody should set up a small advertising account on Google AdWords and bid for their own brand name. Set up a small account on Instagram ads and start giving ads in the proximity of their location as quickly as possible. If they just do 2 things and they do it tomorrow, then I would have felt that I've made some difference by giving this talk. But if you start making a digital plan tomorrow of what we should do in the next 3 years, then I failed in as a communicator what I'm trying to communicate.
No, you're very specific. Johnny, go ahead.
I just wanted to again go back to you had answered partly. Just have one. You have a great product. You refer to a pickle. You have a good package packing, and you have a good belief system which the customers also believe. So today most of the customers look for brands. So some of them don't even mind for the quality of the product, but the brand is important for them. So for a small business, once they have the product in place and people have started believing in the product, what kind of branding should they go with to sustain? Because their product is great. What is it they have to do to sustain that branding? And
Yeah. So see, Johnny, the way I look at it, right, that if you're starting a new company, let's say I'm starting a company and now I want to, let's say, sell biscuits for some reason, right? Now the thing is that if I'm going to compete with the Britannias of the world, right, then it's going to be impossible for me to compete with them because I need a lot of capital, I need packaging, I need quality consistency, I need to get permission from the government, I need to basically have a branding budget, I need to have distribution across shops, etc. Right? And if I'm going to make a generic product, then it's going to be very difficult for me to compete. But let's say, suppose I'm in a locality and I'm making biscuits, and I find that a lot of people are now going for this high protein diet and they're going for keto diet. And now I'm able to create these really specialized keto biscuits that cost 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees a kilo, right? And I'm going to go after the 0.01% of the population in every city and supply those keto, really high quality, really expensive biscuits to that population. So then what happens is, then I will now have really high margin. I'll have really good quality packaging. I'll try to go distribution through outlets like Nature's Basket, or do a direct website, and I'll build up a brand where I'll tie up with associations like, In Future Makers or YPO or EO or some of these places, where I'll say, you know what, I'm going to give a 25% off to YPOs, but I'm going to give a 5,000 rupees a kilo biscuit for 4,000 rupees, right? But it's going to be out of the world, right? So I think the biggest challenge a lot of businesses fail is that what is the problem they're solving, right? So, they say, let me give you a very funny example. I actually believe that if you have to spend a lot of money on advertising, that means you have an inferior product. Let's take an example of iPhone. iPhone 1, 2, 3, 4, all of those phones, they were such an awesome product. They required hardly any advertising. But if you look at iPhone 8, 10, 9 onwards, even 12, you have to have a huge advertising budget. You have to have all these hoardings, spend tens of millions of dollars or billions of dollars for advertising, because your product is now no longer the best product in the market.
Yeah.
So my thinking is that as a brand, as a small business, I think try to solve a problem, know who your audience is, and then focus on building a brand with that audience, right? A lot of times we go wrong is we try to build a brand. In our mind, a brand is where everybody knows about it. No. If there are only 100,000 people in India who will pay 5,000 rupees a kilo for a biscuit, then out of those 10,000 people or 100,000 people, how many of them have heard of your brand, right? So that's what branding is. Branding is who's your target audience and how many people in the target audience know your brand. So if your delivery capability is only 1 kilometer, your goal should be to build a brand in that kilometer. Whether it requires distributing leaflets with a newspaper that's been delivered in that thing, so be it. Doesn't matter. You figure out what are the most inexpensive way of creating a brand in that 1 kilometer radius. If you want to make it 2 kilometer radius, then the 2 kilometer radius. But a lot of people don't spend too much time. Who's the target audience? What is my capability? How much I'm willing to charge? How many people will pay for it? And then what happens is they feel that the more and more people know about the brand, the better it will be. But if you see a lot of brands, very small percentage of people buy that brand and they're loyal to that brand, and they have very, very high customer lifetime value for that brand. So if I like a certain thing, I may buy it multiple times in my lifetime, and that's about it, right? So I think a lot of times business strategy is the foundation for marketing, branding, sales, other things. If you have an inferior business strategy, or you're not defined which target audience your product is for, then advertising actually cannot help you. In fact, they have a sentence where they say that great advertising makes a bad product fail faster.
Yeah. So, we have another audience question for you, Vivek. We have Aniket from Noida is asking, how long does it take to build a brand? I mean, we were talking about what does it take, etc. And how can businesses with limited budgets create lasting brands? Sometimes we may think that it's a small business or whatever, which means, just for a year or two, they might be there, but can a small business build a lasting brand? And how long does it take to actually build it? And if you can think of any examples, it'd be great if you can mention it, something in your neighborhood maybe, or whatever.
So I would say in neighborhood, first example comes to my mind is Muthoot Group, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's taken 80 years to build a brand. Right?
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, it depends on what scale you want to build a brand, right? So what happens is, I can name you tens of brands, which are extremely popular in that segment of the user, and very few people know about that brand. And in that segment, that brand is almost like people live by that brand, right? And it can, so it depends on the scale also, right? If you want to build a brand such as the Muthoot Group or a Nike or a Maruti or some of these larger brands, right? It's taken them decades in many cases to build a brand. But let me give you an example, right? If you take the entire Swiss watch industry, most of the watches are been there for hundreds of years. Hublot was started only 20, 30 years ago. But Hublot, everybody thinks that it's a Swiss watch, which is very old. It's not. So if you take, a lot of brands have been built in a shorter period of time, uh, but it requires that what is the size you're going after? What's your niche product? So if you're solving a problem, right? So if you take Apple, was built as an iPhone or a phone brand because iPhone solved a problem, right? It was such a unique phone when it came out as iPhone 1 that no other phone did the job that Apple iPhone did. So if tomorrow you come up with a product, right, which solves a problem which nobody else has been able to solve, then you can build a brand in 3 months. But if you want a generic product which has no differentiation from the current products in the market, then how will you build a brand, right? Because brand is built through market share. Market share comes from solving a problem. In fact, there's an interesting book I'm reading right now. It's called Why Brands Grow. And it was pretty interesting that people think that you can have a niche audience and have a pretty loyal audience and build a brand. But they've seen that the larger the market share the company has, the more consumers feel it must be a better product. So let's take Asian Paints, right? If you take Asian Paints, the paint quality, along with some of the Japanese and the other brands that are there, just pure quality to quality comparison, a, a, a research agency will tell you that there are superior products in the market. But if you ask a user, everybody says Asian Paints is a superior product. Because the thing is that they have a largest market share. So automatically, consumers feel it's a better product. So I think the way I look at it is that instead of concentrating on how do I build a brand, I think entrepreneurs should concentrate on how do I solve a problem? How do I innovatively solve a problem? Like let's take Profit Wheel as a company. The advertising industry does not talk to the CRM industry. The CRM industry does not talk to the advertising industry because there are 40 companies that Google acquired. There are 40 companies that Salesforce acquired. And now these 40 companies talking to each other is almost impossible. So I said, okay, can we make these two systems talk to each other and then create tremendous amount of efficiencies in both the systems, in the advertising system as well as the CRM systems, right? So it sounds a simple problem, but it's a very difficult problem to solve. But if we solve it, then I don't have to worry. There are 10,000 advertisers all over the world who will be spending billions of dollars on advertising and CRM. This solution will help me get huge market share with these 10,000 advertisers globally, and I will be a brand in those 10,000 people. Today, McKinsey is a brand, right? But McKinsey is a brand with how many people? If you go to every single billion people in India and ask them who McKinsey is, probably 5 million will know or will have heard of McKinsey, right? Or what it does. But that 5 million people is adequate enough, right? Every person who can afford to hire McKinsey knows about them. Right? So what you should ask yourself is, if there are 100 people who can buy my product or a service in the next 3 to 5 years, how many of those 100 people know about me? Yeah. It doesn't matter if a million people know about me. The people who can afford to buy my product, let's take a luxury car, right? There are only 40,000 cars in the luxury segments sold in India. So if you take a Mercedes, a BMW, an Audi, and all these cars, if 100,000 people or a million people know about that brand, that's more than adequate for them to know. Yeah. You don't need billion people knowing about the car. Yeah. Just a million is more than sufficient.
There's an interesting question we have from audience about vernacular, Vivek. So Pooja from Mumbai actually is asking, when we talk about marketing for small businesses, vernacular is important, but going digital requires a shift from vernacular, or does it? And how can this process be made easier for small businesses? How do you, highlight the vernacular in digital?
So, see, I think the challenge is a lot of tools that are being used in India. They are global companies who've come to India. But in the last 10 years, 5 years, it's changed a lot. So a lot of local tools are being built, and these tools are being built in different languages. So if you take education has come to Hindi and some of the local languages, same way a lot of these tools may require very little knowledge of English to start using the tool, because
Mhm.
there'll be some buttons which may be in English, but rest of it, the content can be in vernacular languages. So if you use an email sending tool, then the format of the tool may be in English, but all the content that you want to type and send can be in Hindi or any vernacular language. So the way I look at it is, if your target audience, whom you want to sell a product or a service, understands a certain language, that should be your language of marketing. That should be your language of communication. So if you want to build content, you build a YouTube video in a vernacular language that your target audience can understand, and the target audience will buy your product or service. That's good enough, right?
Mhm.
So now YouTube, you can actually build it in all the languages that are supported, right?
Correct.
But video, in every single tool, video is supported in any language, right? You don't need to know English in order to create a Kannada video or a Telugu video, right?
Correct.
That's all you
Correct.
need is speak in that language and record it.
Yeah.
So if your target audience is consuming a local language or vernacular language, please create content in that language. In fact, one of the things I would tell every single person in this audience is that as a small business, most of your focus should be on creating content,
Yeah.
because there are three pillars of digital. There is a pillar which we call it as paid media, where you pay for media. The other pillar is social media, which is Facebook and some of the other social media platforms. The third is something called organic media, right? Where search engine optimization and other things, that you get free traffic. All three of these pillars actually require content.
Yeah.
You have great content, then your paid media costs are lower. If you have great content, then you have more engagements on social media. If you have great content, then you get organic traffic. So in fact, I would go to this extent and say that you should not have a digital strategy. You should have a content strategy. If you have a content strategy, your digital strategy will automatically fall into place, and content creation doesn't take money.
Yeah.
Vivek, another question is basically for a customer who is much below what we are discussing now, because most of the people we are talking about, small business, might have an outlet where there would be walk-in customers. I'm going one level down. For us also, there are almost 2 million customers who are women entrepreneurs who are into some kind of economic activity. They operate mostly from their home. I'm just asking you a specific question: for a women entrepreneur who operates from home, might be setting up a small tailoring outfit from, and having one or two people helping her with the stitching. What is it available for her to reach out? Because here there is no walk-in. It's more to do with to reach out. So how does that entrepreneur create an identity and spread word about our product?
So I think, Johnny, the way I look at it is that I think you have to look at solving a problem. So I'll give you an example, right? Let's say uh, this person has a tailoring outfit, and now let's say she comes out with this thought process that in the COVID times, people have had to alter their outfits. At least either they've lost a lot of weight or they've put on a lot of weight. Very few people in the last 8-9 months have remained exactly the same weight range, right? So now the thing is, if she identifies that as one of the opportunities, right, and now is able to create a small local campaign, that altering is for the first outfit is done for free, right? Now, whether she distributes pamphlets in the locality saying that the first outfit altering is free, every single person will need to alter some outfit. Now we also know that everybody has more than one outfit. So now what happens is the first outfit is done for free. You get to get a new customer for free. Altering is done. Now they have 20 other things to be done. They need to stitch new things. All those things start happening, right? So now what happens is that a lot of times people are so worried about marketing, they forget that marketing can only communicate the problem you're solving.
Yeah.
So I always encourage our customers to first tell me that what is the problem you're solving for the guy, right? And then now see, now what happens is once we identify this idea, right, becomes very easy. Then becomes easy in terms of bidding on keywords where people are looking for this, people are looking for weight loss, etc. And suddenly you have this category of people where you're going to acquire customers because they wanted to alter an outfit from you once, but based on that, then they build up a one-to-one relationship that they will now start making new clothes with you, right? Then what happens is that I could go on and come out with 20 different ideas in terms of how then you can build that business, right? How you can then start supplying materials to them, helping other shops penetrate this part of it, have tie up with weavers, people who do embroidery. So if you have now, so let's say I'm just doing some loud thinking, right? We build up a whole business. The whole business is on, we're not going to stitch new clothes. We're just going to make existing clothes more beautiful. So we're going to alter them. We're going to paint them. We're going to do embroidery to them. We're going to come out with small new accessories like scarves and everything to be added to them. And now we have this whole suite of things where you come to us with your existing outfit, which you've worn for the last few years and now you're bored of it. Our job is to transform that outfit, right? With all the different things that people in India and small businesses can supply to me, right? So now with that, if you come to me with this business, right, then it's easier for me to think of 100 ideas to communicate this. Like, let's say a lot of today, I don't know if you guys got a chance to see this Mondelez new ad where they had this AI and machine learning working in the back end, where every single person in the locality saw ads of people who are the closest to their proximity. So basically, if I was saying that, okay, buy this watch, it showed, Mahesh, watchmaker of Dadar, to me because I live close to Dadar. So the ads that I saw of Mondelez were different for me and it will be different for Lakshmi, different for everybody else, showing local ads of local shops, right? So now what happens is we can tie up with different brands who can do the same to support local businesses and tailoring outfits. But I think the challenge is that we don't want to think about problem solving. We want to think of how do you communicate my product and service. But the person is going to forget it very quickly because you're not solving a problem for them. If I see an ad, free altering, right, there is a possibility I may remember, oh, you know what, let me just try it out. Let me try it out with the most inexpensive outfit I have, because worst comes to worst, she does not do a good job, at least I'll not waste an outfit. But once you do a good job of it, then I have more expensive things to give you, and where one came from, there are 100 more in most women waiting to be altered. So again, there's a new business, right? But if you're just a tailor and you're just a tailor like everyone else, then all the challenges that everybody else faces, you're going to face the same, and no amount of marketing, advertising from a professional like me can help you, right?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, my sister in Point in Hyderabad, she has a tailor, and now she's become her tailor, her friend's tailor, our cousin's tailor. It's sort of like this thing, just because of that connection, and to turn the sari into a nightgown, into something else, to something else. Absolutely. So Vivek, I'd love to hear some closing remarks from you. We are almost at end of time to say, what would be your short message to small businesses about branding, marketing, especially in the digital era?
Okay. So I think my short message would be that don't get scared of digital. Digital is the age we're living in. And in order to really prosper, learning digital ourselves is going to be critical. If you can use WhatsApp, digital. you're using internet right now. There are very, very easy tools that allow you to build even a website, an e-commerce enabled website for as low as 1,000 rupees a month. Please utilize those tools and start building it. Don't think about the next 3 to 5 years, 10 years, or what you should do on digital. Think about what you're going to do tomorrow. I would recommend is that over the last 1 hour, whatever you've heard, can we take up one idea, right? Whether it's Google AdWords, whether it's Instagram ads, or whether it's using WhatsApp to build a community of potential customers or existing customers, whatever the idea was, right? We take up one idea, but implement it tomorrow, right? Being a Saturday, great time to implement it, but implement it. And like this, every month, every week, you should try out some ideas, spending only a few thousand rupees. So, in fact, I'm going to discuss with Johnny that we should have sort of talks which you record and keep, where every month there is one idea to be implemented. So there is a 5 minute video. How do you do Google AdWords? How do you start a ad account bidding on your own keyword? It's a 5 minute video and exact instructions on how do you start with a 500 rupee Google AdWords account. And I'll also get you enough monies from Google to support this initiative, because Google actually would like small businesses to start using AdWords, because eventually they will become large businesses and give Google a lot of money. But
Yeah.
they are willing to give 5,000 rupees free to all the
Yeah.
small businesses. Similarly, Netcore is one of the companies I'm associated with. They have email, SMS, WhatsApp uh, uh, sort of platforms. They also would love to help small businesses. They can give a platform by which they can give some SMSs, WhatsApp, and emails for free. The small businesses can use. So there are a lot of companies. There are 53 million small businesses and MSMEs in India, and that's a large opportunity
It's a
for
large
lot of
number.
companies.
Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of people in the digital world would love to provide the services and products to them, where the first month, where we said first alteration is free, the first month is free for most of these companies. So I think if we start using it, we start benefiting from it, then it'll become a way of life. But without learning digital, we're going to face a lot of challenges in our businesses. So my only recommendation is, please learn it yourself. 10 years
Yeah.
down the line, you will be glad you attended this talk and you started some journey.
No, I just have to say, Tina and Shraddha, who actually run this initiative, they've already started working on a pilot where they've sent just short videos on how to do market using WhatsApp. It's been amazing seeing, just a few things of this is how you create a group, this is how you market it, etc. They started doing it, and we should seek your help to get Facebook to fund it. So we'll definitely come to you,
I'm
Vivek.
sure they will.
Johnny, your
Okay.
closing
Thank-
remarks.
I would take this opportunity to thank Vivek for your very insightful discussion, and it would immensely help all our customers and listeners, and we would also take it through our branches to our customers, and people who would benefit would be the micro, nano, small businesses who are today's really struggling to understand marketing, branding, digital. So your final words, don't get scared of digital, is the message we will take it to them. Thank you very much once again, Vivek.
Thanks, Vivek. And also to say, do it yourself. Try something yourself, and not just look for an agency. So it's, as usual, delightful and wonderful. Thanks for all the examples. Thank you, Vivek. And thank you to all our audience for joining us and asking some great questions so we could have a live conversation. Thank you very much to all of
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.